In this video, we'll be looking at the camera topics, specifically the ViewTarget with Blend. We're also going to look at a few different things to see how we can implement the ViewTarget and also how to use the ViewTarget with Blend to act like the standard ViewTarget. So the blending being a kind of lerping animation from one camera target to another. So by the end of this, you'll have something like this. I've created a simple actor, which is allowing us to control the blend time and also the target that we want to move to, just to make things a little bit more dynamic and easier to test. And of course, that little bit more reusable in your projects. As always, in the code, I'm just going to run through what I already have implemented. This is a simple actor class, so we can see here we're using the A actor class. I've named mine ViewTarget with Blend example. The important things here is that we have the standard constructor and begin play override. Both of these are going to be used, so do keep those included as we will be using those in a moment. And then in the private section down here, I've created a few different properties and a couple of functions. So we have, for the components, I've created a U box component, called this one overlap box, made this visible anywhere, and put it in the components category. Of course, you will need to forward declare or include the ubox component class. Then for the variables, I've created an A-actor pointer named ViewTarget, which is defaulting to null pointer, and this again has been set to be edit anywhere and placed in a category named ViewTarget, so it's easy to find. The edit anywhere is important. I just wanted to be able to, like you've seen in the demonstration back there, quickly select any kind of actor in the scene that we'll be selecting as the new ViewTarget, which is one of the signature overrides we need for our function call in a moment. Then in a similar way, another thing we need to pass in for the ViewTarget with Blend is how long we want the blending to take, so that lerping from one target to another. So I've created another U property, again, edit anywhere and in the category of ViewTarget. This one named blend time, set to a default of 1 second. And again, this just allows some very easy updates and quick testing if we wanted to completely remove or make the blend a lot longer. And then finally, just a non-exposed private variable of the type PlayerController. This one's called PC. And this is just because when we call the function to use that ViewTarget blend, we will be doing that from the PlayerController. You're probably going to be familiar with this down below. So these are the custom functions, the onOverlapBegin and onOverlapEnd. These are going to be bound in a moment to the box collision, and they're taking in the standard arguments here. Now I'll just drop this down in case you do need to see this, but I'd always say, just to make sure that this is as version flexible as possible, I'm going to jump over to the code file quickly, and I'll just show you these, just in case you haven't watched my other videos and don't know how I'm getting these signatures. We're basically doing a dynamic binding to the onComponentBegin overlap and the onComponentEnd overlap on the standard box component. So this is something that already exists in there. So what we can do is I'm going to navigate to the declaration. So now that's loaded, you can see the colors have changed here. It wasn't currently loading the project properly, and I didn't have the full access to jump into the code as I wanted. So now I'm going to navigate to the declaration. Just to note, I haven't changed any of the code. I just needed to reassign the correct SLM path there. And what I'm doing here is we're going to go up to the signatures. And the reason I'd always recommend going this way if you can is this means that if anything changes in the engine code between the documentation updates, you're always going to get the correct overrides hit from the code that's implemented just here. And I think it's going to be faster rather than searching like I was just there. We're going to Control F this. And basically the overrides that I have in my custom functions are just these after the standard function implementation from the engine code. So the easiest way is always going to be to come in here, copy these, paste those into your custom function, just so that you know that the signature is going to always match up. Okay, so back in my header, what we can see is that means that we've got, as you can see here, the same signatures all being bound to the onOverlapBegin and the onOverlapEnd. So this is needed because when we do the dynamic binding in the code file, if you're not familiar with this, I've got a topic specifically on this in the playlist, but we're just saying that whenever the default function of our overlap box is called, rather than doing anything there, call our own custom function here, the onOverlapBegin and the onOverlapEnd, which are implemented just below. So just before we get to that, we'll take a step back. So in the header, I've included the Kismet gameplay statics. We're using that to get the player controller, and we've got the components / box component because of course we're creating the default subobject of the ubox component. We're setting the function, so we need to get those function calls, the set generate overlap events. We're going to set that to be true, just so that this will overlap with anything and track when the player comes in and out. And then as I've just kind of briefly covered, we're setting the dynamic bindings to the on component begin overlap and the on component end overlap, taking the reference actor as this, so the function that we want to call is on this actor, and then specifying that the function that we want that to be bound to is first of all the on overlap begin in our class and then the on overlap end in our class related to the functions we're binding them to. Moving down a bit, we have the begin play, so we've got just making sure that we've stored the player controller. We've got the PC equals uGameplay statics and then get the player controller. For the world context, again, just using this, and the player index is 0. It's a single player game, so we only need to worry about player 0. And the final parts and the important bits here, when we overlap with something, we're going to take some of these arguments that we need to pass in anyway as the kind of standard signature overrides. And what we want to do, we want to check if we have a view target first of all, so this is very important that we have a valid actor to change the target to, of course, otherwise we're going to be trying to change to an actor that may not exist. And then if that's the case, we're going to set the player controller and we're calling the set view target with blend function. We're going to set that to be the view target, which is the other actor, and we're passing in the blend time, which is how long we want this to take. Now, if you're being very particular, you may also want to check against the actor. So at the moment, we could accidentally kind of throw a box in, but I know that I've got a very controlled environment here. But this would mean that if anything overlaps the box that we've created at all, then that would potentially trigger the view target blend. So you may want to add if the other actor is equal to the player character, then get that player character's player controller and so on. But this is just a very simple way to show this. Now the other option is the view target without blend. It's just called set view target. Now this is very similar. I figured rather than doing a completely separate video topic just on this because it's so similar, I would show the option here. Basically, it's doing the same thing. It's going to immediately change that view target though, so you get an immediate transition where you're looking at the other actor. The main difference is that there's no blend time, so it will be as soon as you touch the collider, you'll be looking through something else. Now, the way that I would approach this is I tend to just use the set view target with blend as the default. I don't very often use set view target, and if I don't want there to be any lerping or animation, then I'll just pass in a blend time of 0. It means you don't need to worry about calling different functions, and then if you do want to come back and update and add some kind of animation or lerp, then you're going to have to change the function call and everything like that. It's just easier to change the blend time. And finally, the last thing we're doing, we've got the same, I'm just showing the same example down here. So this is, again, we can set the view target when we end the overlap to be the pawn, so going back to the thing that it was previously looking at. Same function call, this time we're just passing in the pawn actor rather than the selected actor in the viewport. Whilst for the set view target with blend option, we're getting the player controller's controlled pawn or the get pawn. And again, we're just passing in the blend time. So nothing too different there. Just really updating the actor that we want to set the camera to view from. Now, one thing that I think some people may get a little bit confused with, can be obvious for some people, maybe not for others. This is just a very standard A actor class that is being passed in. So I think I've seen it in the past where people maybe automatically just assume it needs to be another camera. So they'll place loads of cameras around the scene and they'll set their view targets from one camera to another. That's really not needed. It is taking the most basic form of an actor. This could just be a simple invisible actor with just a scene component or something to provide a location, or an arrow if you wanted to demonstrate kind of the way that it's going to be looking from. It will take on the transform, so the way that the place that the actor is located and the way that it's facing, that will be accounted for, as I'll demonstrate when we go back over to the engine, but it doesn't need to be another camera. Basically, if you go from one camera to another, it's not actually rendering from the second camera, it's just rendering from that camera's transform. Just something I wanted to mention, as I think I've seen other people recommending or suggesting that it needs to be the view target is going from a camera to a camera. Okay, so back over in the engine, just a few things to go through here. I've shown the demonstration a bit earlier, I know. This is the initial actor that I've created to, which was the default view target. So the first thing I was blending to was this, and this is what I mentioned by the transform. If I rotate this around or change where this is, we're going to specifically look in that rotation as well. So if I grab the view target with blend example, go back to selecting this actor as the one we're going to move towards, and you can see that if I completely rotate this up, rather than looking down at this little box here, we're actually going to be looking up into the sky, which is a little bit confusing. But like I said, that's really just demonstrating, literally, that's all it's doing, is it's moving from its current position to another, taking on the transform of the actor that it is blending to. This is the way that we can use this. So again, if you didn't want it to have that blend, so essentially if you just want this to be a set view target, then we can set that to 0, and we're now immediately looking through this. So it saves, like I said, that updating or changing of functionality. Instead, we're just going to create a kind of flexible system here, so we can remove or add the blend as required. And then, as you saw in the demonstration, we can pretty much set this to be any actor, just static mesh actors in the world would be perfectly fine. And we can set this to view from inside that cube and then back to the character when you enter or leave the box collider. It's a nice simple functionality. I think the main takeaway here is just kind of making this quite flexible, making an interesting reusable system. And I think ideally, rather than having this box collider, what I would have preferred to have implemented is maybe a custom blueprint with an arrow, like I said, so then you can show exactly which direction that camera is going to be facing when you set it as the new target. So a nice simple topic, something that a lot of people seem to want to go into a little bit more depth on, so I've tried going into as much detail on that as possible. You may have also noticed that the assets in the project have been updated, so I've gone through and I've kind of fleshed things out a little bit. I've improved the character controls, so the camera's a little bit more interesting, added in the animated character here, just for some kind of visual flair, and I've also improved the character controller, so it just feels a little bit nicer to control. The previous one I couldn't look around the level. And all of this, if you are supporting me on Patreon, is available through the tier rewards as the Patreon exclusive access to the project files. So do go over and take a look at that if you haven't already. And this is the first time you're hearing about it through the video, then do make sure that you keep up to date with the posts, as that has already been shared over on the page. And again, a huge thank you for everyone who's watching this and is a supporter or the support of the channel, as it allows me to keep making content like this on a weekly basis and is greatly appreciated. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video or found this useful, and of course if you have, please do leave a like and share the video around, that is greatly appreciated and helps these topics to reach as many people as possible. And of course if you wanted to be kept up to date with any of the content coming from any of the players on the channel, do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you get those updates as soon as they go live on the channel. We're getting very close to 20,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool, and I am considering something that I should probably have a video ready for when that happens. So be part of that, and you can say that you've hit the subscribe button before 20k. As ever though, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.